British Virgin Islands, a passionate group of ocean conservationists are on a mission to protect the vital coral reefs that are facing unprecedented threats.
Hi, I'm Alton Bertie from the British Virgin Islands. I represent the organization Beyond the Reef. We are an ocean conservation nonprofit. We're involved in many different sectors. Artificial reefs, we create artificial reefs. Apparently, we also do festival floats as well, as you could see from the gigantic whale from the festival parade last year. Involved in shark research, whale research, and cleanups, beach cleanups and underwater cleanups as well.
One critical focus has been combating stony coral tissue loss disease, as a deadly outbreak devastates reefs across the Caribbean.
It came from Florida. So it all started in 2014 when individuals were out doing sand mining, and scientists noticed that the corals started to look different, and they thought that it was coral bleaching that happened. So coral bleaching, as well as any other diseases, they are impacting the corals, but it'll be for a short period of time, and then the corals eventually recover. However, in this particular disease, it wasn't happening that way, and the disease was actually spreading towards other corals. So it went from reef to reef across the Florida Reef Tract, and hence it got its name, Stony Coral Tissue Loss Disease. And it just went from the Florida Reef Tract and it spread across the Caribbean.
When we had the lockdown back in March, between March and April of 2020, the Association of Reef Keepers was the first person to identify Stony Coral Tissue Loss Disease, or CTLD, in the Rhone, which is the only marine park in the territory. And so the trust used some of its meager funds in order to treat the corals that were within or remit. And trying to deal with something like that, which can be transported by wave currents and tides, was not the best approach.
Madam Speaker, the matter of coral reef management is equally important. In this arena, the Ministry, in partnership with the National Parks Trust, has formed a coral reef strike team in collaboration with Beyond the Reef and a number of private sector dive operators to fight the coral stony tissue loss disease.
How did I get involved with this? Well, I was asked by the president of the scuba organization, Kim Hewish, a few years ago, I think it was 2019, if I wanted to learn to scuba dive. I was like, sure, because I'm the type of person that if you ask to do something, I'll be like, yeah, sure, why not? But I didn't realize I had to know how to swim and all of that. So I did it, and I was pretty horrible. My first instructor was Rika, and she could tell you I was pretty horrible at it. So I had to learn to swim and all of that kind of stuff, which I took up. And then once I learned to swim, I got certified in diving, and I was a pretty horrible diver. But if you want to get good at something, you just have to continuously do it. I was invited by Sail Caribbean divers, Jason Hart, he's a good friend of mine, if I wanted to tag along for treatment of stony coral tissue loss disease, and this was the first time I met Dr. Shannon Gore. I was just tagging along, and it caught my attention. After that, I got her number, and I constantly just harassed her, like, hey, I want to tag along, what are we doing? And she's also involved with turtle research here in the BVI. She's been doing it for a very long time. So I would constantly harass her, and then she would invite me out. Then I got an email, I think it was from Agile, who works at the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, and asking me if I wanted to get involved with coral treatment. So I had to do a whole certification process, which I was pretty horrible at as well too. But like I said, as you continuously do something, you get better at it. And this was a few years ago. So I've been treating corals, stony coral tissue loss disease, for a very long time. That's when I got introduced to the organization Beyond the Reef.
So how we're treating our coral, the main defence of the BVI is we're using what's in the syringe. It's a mixture of a specially bioengineered paste by base-to-B and amoxicillin, antibiotic mixed into it. And what we do is where we find the disease on the coral, we've got the healthy tissue and then we've got the skeleton. The disease is on that margin between the two. We're applying this antibiotic paste via this syringe, pushing it down into the coral, just killing off the disease and saving the live tissue.
Chris, who is an amazing guy all around, good heart guy, and a very good friend. We do all of that stuff together. At that time I was working with Laura as well. Now we have a whole bunch of other people and volunteers, new people, and some of the guys are just like Justin and Lewis. They went through a very intense training, far more intense than what I did, and they're like almost experts at identifying corals and the scientific names and all of that. I've learned it through just doing it over and over again. And you know, I have somewhat developed my own way of treating the corals. So I tend to go upside down and spin around like a screw, just upside down. My reason for that, it's easy to just spin around, but also that way I don't touch anything else on the bottom. I'm just touching what I need to touch.
While the work is grueling, there are signs of hope still emerging.
Well, last year we had a significant bleaching event because the water temperature is warmer than usual. So that was, and the funny thing is I wasn't underwater for a while because in my other life, I'm a musician, so like during the summer I get busy with festivals and stuff. So I wasn't underwater for a while. And then when I went underwater, it was like, whoa, everything is white. And it was a shock for me. I mean, they're still alive when they bleach, but yeah, so they had color and all of that. But then the next time you dive, it's like everything is just white. So that's what we were facing last year, a significant bleaching event. Since then, the waters have cooled down. From what I've seen, and I would have to refer to the numbers to confirm this, I've been seeing a lot less of the stony coral tissue loss disease, especially from when I first started, because we would be treating a lot more back then. I could say that it is less from what I've seen when I started.
Since 2020, this rapidly spreading disease has posed one of the greatest threats to coral reef health, and I'm pleased to report that the data now shows that the incidence of disease is stabilizing. This is the result of the hard work of the Coral Reef Strike team that has consistently treated infective reefs with antibiotics.
The ultimate goal for us at Beyond the Reef is to make the place better, a better BVI for future generations. We're trying to help not only under the sea, but people. I know we often think of things scientifically, but not everyone could relate to it in that sense. But reefs are very important. We eat fish here, and a lot of the fish that we eat depend on these reefs.
In the BVI, we have two different types of corals. We have the hard one and we have the soft one. And the hard one, they are reef building. They provide protection, as well as it's important for fisheries, as the fish utilize it not only for food, but also for protection for other marine creatures from finding them.
While the road ahead is daunting, groups like Beyond the Reef are committed to preserving these critical ecosystems for generations to come.
Firstly, the Beyond the Reef team is an excellent team. We have fun outside of, the work that we're doing, is enjoying working with the people that you're with, and they've been great all around. And even the newcomers, they have been excellent as well. Amy, Buzz, you name it, they've been really great. That's part of it. And for me, it's knowing that you're doing something great. I always say that the most important thing to us as humans is the impact that we make, the impact that we leave behind, because I'm not going to be here forever, but what am I leaving for future generations to come? So I am doing the best I can to pass on a better world for future generations. And I enjoy it. It's fun because, like, the other day we were treating corals and I was surrounded by at least 4 sharks. I mean, you don't get that anywhere doing anything else. And you never know what's gonna happen. You might see a seahorse. Hopefully one day I'll be under there and a whale shows up. Things like that. There's excitement with it and just being them. I like diving itself. It's just fun. But when you're under there doing something for a good cause and you know that will live past yourself, it means a lot more. All of us, we like to go to the beach. Even though we can't swim sometimes, we like to go and take our selfies, all of that. Reefs are a part of that. You don't often see them like that, but they are a very important part for the beaches. So the work that we're doing also impacts everyone else, whether it's what you consume or just taking selfies on the beach. And that has implications for tourism as well, because a lot of the tourists come here for the beach, the sailing, things like that. I've found that tourists, especially the overnight visitors, the ones that stay on the sea, the charter boats and all of that, they are very keen on conservation, ocean conservation and what's happening there, because they want to see, when they come here, they want to see the turtles and the sharks and all of that kind of stuff. So that's what they're spending their money for, and they want to see the reefs as well. So what we're doing is beyond us and beyond underwater, and we're trying to help with the educational aspect with students, the kids coming up, and I've found that the future generations tend to be very keen on this kind of stuff, so there's hope in the future. One thing I would like to see, the Honorable Stacey Mather said it, well, he was talking about it years ago, and I saw him post about it very recently too. I think all of us should be able to swim. Every single one. We live on an island. We're always surrounded by water. You're on a boat, whether you're going to Virgin Gorda on Speedies or you're going to Willie T on a Sunday or something like that. Instead of just going to the beach to take a selfie and you dipping your toes in the shallow water, you could actually go swim and enjoy it and see what's under there for yourself, because the beaches provide a glimpse into what's out there. I learned to swim. I did it with BVI Swim School, and I learned to swim in about six lessons. Of course, I had to practice after that. Once you learn to swim, it's something you have for life. Nobody could take that away from you. That's something you have. So when you go on your trip to where people like to go nowadays, like Cancun and Tulum and those places, you could actually go and enjoy the water. I would like to see everybody learn to swim firstly, and then obviously get into diving. Diving is something people spend thousands of dollars to come here to do, and we have it. We right by the water. Just getting in the water, trying to get people in the water. I know Beyond the Reef, we have the Willie T artificial reef, the wreck. That was the Willie T that got destroyed in Hurricane Irma. It's sunk under, well, over by Peter Island. We put it over there, and it has like pirates and stuff on it. There's one at the bar drinking, and there's 2 on top fighting with a sword. The captain is looking at the map. Looks like he's lost. There's one sweeping the deck. That site, we accept donations because it's about a $5 donation, and the donations from that go towards helping kids to learn to swim. So that is something that we do to help in that aspect. I post a lot of stuff underwater, videos and photos, and most people don't dive or swim. They like to see what's happening under there. Sometimes it's a bit scary for them. I mean, being surrounded by a whole bunch of sharks isn't ideal for a lot of people, but they're keen to see what's happening under there. So the public, they're very supportive, and when we have like beach cleanups, we have a lot of companies, they volunteer to get involved and help with beach cleanups, things like that. I often get emails or messages saying, how can we get involved? How can we do this? Things like that. So that support is very important, and we really appreciate it. In terms of climate change, we are in May. You see how hot outside is? You see how hot outside is right now? This is May. I saw a report saying that this February tends to be our coldest month. This February was the hottest February on record. So if we're this hot in May, imagine August, imagine September. So if you're doubting climate change, well, go outside, man. Just take a walk outside. And then it reminds me, I know people post on Facebook and things like, remember when we were small, little kids, and we used to go outside barefoot on the road, on the concrete and thing? Go do that now, no? Go outside and do that now. So it's also the same with the water. The water is warmer. I dive with my Apple Watch, and it gives me the temperature, and temperature changes and stuff. And you see where the temperature is. So I see it happening there. And then, of course, when we talk about climate change in the BVI, no conversation is complete without mentioning the hurricanes, Irma and Maria. And it's predicted to have more storms of that sort in the future. Hopefully none comes here. Different things like that. So it is very apparent. If you're doubting it, just go outside. Just take a walk outside. If you're brave enough, take a walk outside barefoot, like what we used to do when we were small.